Captain Steller was the hero of Metropolis. He had a chiseled jaw, a cape that billowed perfectly in the wind, and powers that could rival even the mightiest of gods. His main adversary was the cunning and elusive villainess Elektra. She was a master of gadgets and deception. For years they played a dangerous game of cat and mouse, each trying to outsmart the other. Elektra's latest scheme involved a device that could de-age her enemies, reducing them to helpless infants. She planned to use it on Captain Steller, rendering him powerless. But as fate would have it, their climactic showdown took an unexpected turn. In the heat of battle, the device malfunctioned, and instead of hitting Captain Steller, the beam struck Elektra herself. The once fearsome villainess was instantly transformed into a 2-year-old girl. Her intelligence and cunning mind remained intact, but her body was now that of a toddler. Captain Steller stood over her, dumbfounded, as she squealed in frustration. Her de-aging device was destroyed in the chaos, leaving her no way to reverse the process. Captain Steller had never been this close to a victory against Elektra. But this wasn't how he imagined it. The tiny girl before him, with her big angry eyes and her tiny fists clenched, was both amusing and perplexing. He couldn't leave her in the hands of the authorities or abandon her. She was too young to stand trial, and no foster care system would understand her unique predicament. He sighed and picked her up. Elektra, now with pigtails and wearing a onesie, lashed out with surprising ferocity for her new size.
Put me down, you oversized oaf!
She yelled, but her tiny voice made it sound more like a tantrum than a threat. Captain Steller couldn't help but chuckle at the sight. Back at his headquarters, he faced his first challenge, her immediate needs. Diapers, clothes, food, everything needed to be adjusted for her new age. She was still sharp-tongued and quick-witted, but her tiny body required constant care. He had fought monsters and saved the world, but now he found himself navigating the aisles of a supermarket, cluelessly searching for baby supplies. Captain Steller's days of fighting crime were now interspersed with changing diapers and preparing bottles. Elektra, or Ellie, as he started calling her, was a handful. She refused to listen, made a mess of everything, and seemed to take pleasure in complicating his life. Bath time was a disaster, with water splashing everywhere and Ellie laughing at his frustration. Feeding her was another challenge. She threw food, refused to eat, and demanded only the most complicated meals. Captain Steller, who could barely cook, found himself learning to make gourmet toddler food. Ellie watched him struggle with a mixture of amusement and disdain. She was used to having control, not relying on someone else. Nap time was a battle of wills. Ellie didn't want to sleep, and Captain Steller was at his wit's end. He tried everything, reading stories, playing soft music, even rocking her, before she finally dozed off. Exhausted, he often found himself napping alongside her, clutching the baby monitor like it was a lifeline. Hiring a babysitter seemed like a logical step for Captain Steller. He needed someone to take care of Ellie while he was out saving the world. But Ellie had other plans.
I thought this would be easy. Just find someone to watch her, right?
She scared off every babysitter with her sharp tongue and mischievous antics. One by one, they fled, leaving Captain Steller more exasperated than ever.
I can't do this. This child is impossible.
Ellie took great pleasure in sabotaging his attempts. She pretended to be a sweet, innocent child until the babysitter's back was turned. Then she would unleash her full villainous potential.
Oops, did I do that?
Milk would be spilled, toys thrown, and chaos would ensue. No one lasted more than a day. Eventually, Captain Steller had no choice but to take Ellie with him on missions.
All right, Ellie, you're coming with me. Just try not to cause too much trouble.
She was surprisingly adept at causing problems even in the midst of battle. She would activate alarms, trip henchmen, and generally create havoc. Yet despite the trouble she caused, Captain Steller couldn't help but feel a growing bond with her. Her antics were frustrating, but also kind of endearing. One night, after a particularly chaotic day, Ellie looked up at Captain Steller with her big, teary eyes.
Why do you put up with me? She asked, her voice small and vulnerable.
Captain Steller was taken aback. It was the first time she had shown any sign of softness. He knelt down and gently brushed a stray lock of hair from her face.
Because everyone deserves a second chance, he said softly. Even you, Ellie.
She stared at him, her tough exterior cracking ever so slightly. From that moment, something changed. She began to trust him little by little. She still caused trouble, but it was less malicious and more playful.
Maybe I can be good too.
She started helping him in small ways, tidying up her toys or listening to him during missions. Their relationship slowly evolved. Captain Steller found himself enjoying their time together. They still bickered and argued, but there was a newfound warmth between them. Ellie began to see Captain Steller not as an enemy, but as a protector, and dare she admit it, a father figure. Ellie's transformation from nemesis to sidekick was gradual but undeniable. She started using her intellect to assist Captain Steller in his missions. Her small size and sharp mind made her an invaluable asset. She could slip into places he couldn't and provide crucial information.
Wow, she's really good at this.
Together, they became an unstoppable team. Their bond strengthened with each mission. Ellie's antics were now more about helping than hindering. She no longer scared off babysitters because she didn't need them. She wanted to be with Captain Steller, to learn from him and to help him.
I couldn't ask for a better partner.
He, in turn, cherished her presence, grateful for the unexpected companionship. In the end, Captain Steller realized that he had not only gained a sidekick but also a daughter. Ellie's sharp mind and cunning were now used for good, and she had found a place where she belonged. They fought crime together, laughed together, and built a future together. The hero and his tiny sidekick were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, together.